So these are the tools that I'm going to be using to go ahead and tear this down. I actually have this dish right here. If you have a magnetic dish, it's going to save you a lot of headaches because there's a lot of screws in these drones, or at least mine had a lot. So definitely get one or use it if you have it. It's going to save you a lot. Alright, so we're putting this to the side. I'm going to save that for another day. We're just going to get straight into this teardown. Alright, so let's get another angle on this. I'm going to start by taking off the landing gear first. I'm going to take out all the screws and then stick them. Make sure you put them in your magnetic dish so that you don't lose them. Alright, so we got those off. Next are the propellers. There's a little screw on the side. I don't think I showed you. But yeah. I'm probably going to change those out because they're kind of tore up, but it's okay. And take note of the lettering under it. That's going to be important in the future. I wanted to show you something real quick. These propellers, I wanted you to see that they do point in different directions. That's how we get this to hover. So when it spins, they're supposed to spin towards each other when they're spinning. So one's going to spin clockwise and the other one's going to spin counterclockwise. So that's why you have the different lettering on them. So be mindful of that. Alright, so here I'm taking out the little shafts that that has the gear on it that basically turns the propellers. There are bearings that go on the top and the bottom. So here I took out the bottom ones and kept them on the shaft just so that, you know, I wouldn't lose them. The ones in the top were pretty secure, so I left those alone. They don't spin very well, but, you know, nothing a little oil can't fix, you know? There's no hair or nothing or debris in there, so that was a good thing. I was pulling at the motors to see if they would come out. They didn't. There's some screws like right behind them, as you can see right here. There's one on each leg or arm, whatever you want to call them. So we're going to pull those out. As you can see here, I was trying to see if it would open with just that, and it did not. So there's some more screws. I'm going to go ahead and grab those out and see if I can open it from there. So before we start, I just wanted to show you the bearings that are on top. They're very small. Don't bang it around. It won't come out for the most part, but if you bang it around, they may come out. So just be mindful of your bearings on top while you're pulling this apart, but they should stay pretty snug the whole time. And that's the motor that I'm showing you there. I was trying to see if I could open it with my fingernails to see if it would come apart, but it didn't work, so we have to get those screws out. I tried using the flathead screwdriver. That didn't work. In the end, I just had to take those screws out. I did a lot of prying too. Okay, so a word to the wise here. If you're trying to open something and it won't come apart, don't break it. There's something in the way. And as you can see here, I stopped because I was going to break it. I found the screw that was holding everything together, and I'm glad I did, because then we'd have a problem. See, you can see it there, right in that little hole. So yeah, look for the problem and don't just pop it off, because then you're going to have problems putting it back together. Now look how easy that opened up. Yeah, don't force it. So there's another screw apparently that I missed. So now we got to take those out as well. Alright, so I had one that was still stuck. But as you can see, now that I've got them all undone, look how easily it comes apart. Didn't even have to force it. This one, yeah, this one was stuck pretty good. Alright, so it wouldn't open all the way, and sure enough, there were 2 more screws to go ahead and take out. Get those out. Voila, it comes open. What we've all been waiting for. But I still had one screw stuck in one of the arms that just wouldn't give. So basically I'm just gonna work around it, to be honest. I made another attempt, but for the most part, that screw did not want to come out. But you'll see later what happens with it, though. So anyway, let's get to the meat of this video right here. Got it open. As you can see, there was a big old block sponge. I'm guessing that was to keep the motherboard from impact. It's a very thick piece of sponge. So you just take it off and kind of slide it to the side because that screw was still in there. And I was just like, whatever. But you can see all the motors and everything's free now. And this is what we're looking at. This is what we're dealing with right here. So I lost the audio for this part, so I'm going to re-explain what was happening. For the most part, once I took that sponge off, I was basically explaining the wire layout that we have. Is basically we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 connectors. And each connector basically did the same thing. One was for LED and one was for the motor. So on that side that I'm touching there, the black and white wire was for the motor, and that went under the LED connection. And it was the same for the opposite end. Well, not the opposite end that I'm showing there. Across from it where I was showing the first one, it was the motors are the same on opposing ends, but not next to each other. Those motors are two different motors because it has different colors. So one goes clockwise, one goes counterclockwise, and they're across from each other. And that's what helps the craft to hover. And as you're looking at the wires there, like I was showing you, the motors basically are right by each other if you want to plug them in. So that right there, what I was touching, is the motor. The top one under it is a motor. The one next to it is the motor, and the one above it is the motor. And the LEDs are all on the outside connectors. That's basically what was being explained in this part of the video. Part that I'm touching there is the antenna for the the receiver transmitter. That's what the remote basically gets a signal from, or receives a signal from, whatever. And I was basically saying in this part that I'm going to basically drill a small hole so I can stick that outside so I can maybe get a better signal, maybe just a bit more distance out of it. But this is the end of part 1. We'll see you at part 2.